The evening had fallen quiet, almost too quiet, with the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the clock echoing in the living room, making the house feel emptier than usual. Husband was away on a business trip, and the silence wrapped around her like a heavy blanket, pulling her into memories of laughter, warmth, and small daily routines that now seemed distant and unreachable, leaving her heart longing for his presence in a way that made her chest ache. She moved from room to room, tidying up without really seeing the objects, her mind wandering to the moments they had shared over the years, the quiet dinners, the late-night talks, the easy comfort of knowing someone truly understood her. And as she paused near the window, tracing raindrops on the glass, she imagined husband sitting across from her, smiling, telling her about his day, the way he always made ordinary stories feel special. The knock at the door startled her, a sharp intrusion that made her heart jump as she paused, wondering who it could possibly be at this hour. She wasn't expecting anyone, and the thought of company made her suddenly nervous, a mix of curiosity and hesitation tightening in her chest. When she opened the door, standing there was husband's boss, a man she had seen briefly at gatherings and in office photos, polite but with a presence that seemed to command attention, holding a small folder in one hand, his professional smile polite but distant, yet somehow the warmth in his eyes hinted at something more than mere business etiquette, and in that instant she felt a flutter she didn't understand, a subtle recognition that this visit might stir emotions she hadn't anticipated. "Hello. I hope I'm not disturbing you," he said, his voice calm, controlled, with a softness that contrasted the professional edge of his demeanor, and she felt the tension of the unexpected encounter pressing on her, her throat tight as she responded, "I know it's fine," stepping aside to let him enter, though every step she took seemed to echo in the quiet room, amplifying the significance of this ordinary, yet strangely charged moment. As he crossed the threshold, she noticed the small details, the way he adjusted his jacket, the slight hesitation before he set the folder on the coffee table, the way he looked around the room as if taking in the space that husband had left behind, and a strange mixture of curiosity and comfort settled over her, the kind that comes from recognizing someone who carries a quiet understanding, someone who might notice the invisible threads of emotion woven into her demeanor. They sat down, the rain outside tapping lightly against the windows, creating a rhythm that matched the beat of her heart, and he began to speak at first about work, about husband's projects, deadlines, and office matters, but slowly, almost imperceptibly, the conversation drifted into a space that felt personal, intimate in a way that neither of them had intended, and she realized with a start that the evening was no longer just about professional concerns. It had become a meeting of human connection, a moment of shared vulnerability that neither could ignore. She felt herself drawn to him in subtle ways, noticing the way his voice carried a softness when he spoke of challenges, the brief pauses that hinted at thoughtfulness, the way his eyes met hers with an intensity that was not intrusive, but profound, a gentle recognition of the emotion she could not hide, and for a fleeting moment, the room seemed to shrink around them, the world outside the walls of the house fading into insignificance, leaving only the two of them suspended in an unspoken understanding. He spoke of husband, of the pressures he faced, the responsibility he bore, and the dedication that sometimes left him drained, and she listened, feeling a mix of pride and longing, wishing husband could be there to hear the acknowledgement of his efforts, but also sensing an odd comfort in this unexpected companionship, a warmth that was not inappropriate but human, tender, and quietly reassuring. She noticed the subtle gestures, the way he shifted slightly in his seat, the occasional glance at the rain outside, the way he seemed to pause as if measuring the right words, the careful balance between professional composure and personal empathy, and she found herself responding in kind, her words soft but genuine, her voice carrying fragments of feelings she had tucked away, thoughts about absence, love, and the way life could be interrupted in ways that left hearts open and raw. The conversation ebbed and flowed, punctuated by laughter at small anecdotes, a shared understanding of common experiences, and moments of reflective silence that were heavy with emotion, and in each pause, she felt the quiet tug of human connection, a reminder that even brief encounters could stir feelings that linger, that sometimes a stranger's presence could shine a light on the deeper currents of one's own heart. And yet, there was a tension, a delicate thread of unspoken awareness that neither could fully address, the awareness of boundaries, of loyalty, and of the intricate web of relationships that defined their lives. But even within that tension, there was a recognition of vulnerability, a fragile openness that made the encounter feel significant, like a page in a story that had been waiting to be written. As the evening deepened and the rain grew softer, he glanced at the clock, a subtle signal that the visit must end, and she felt a pang of disappointment, the sudden awareness that this connection, brief as it was, had already begun to mark her memory in ways she could not yet define. He stood, collected his folder, and offered a polite, almost wistful smile, a silent acknowledgement of the shared experience, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, caught between departure and the lingering echo of what had passed. He left, the door closing softly behind him, and she remained standing, staring after him, the house once again quiet except for the steady rhythm of raindrops, but the emptiness now felt different, charged with the weight of possibility, reflection, and the quiet ache of emotion that only such unexpected encounters could leave behind, a mixture of longing for husband, curiosity about human connection, and the subtle awareness that life had offered her a glimpse into something gentle, poignant, and deeply moving, a reminder that hearts are complex, resilient, and capable of responding to even the briefest moments of understanding. She walked back to the window, pressing her hands to the glass, staring at the blurred world outside, feeling the lingering warmth of the visit, the echo of a voice that had recognized her feelings without judgment, and she understood in that quiet, reflective moment that sometimes life's interruptions, unexpected visits, fleeting conversations, were not meant to change the course of love, but to illuminate it, to make the heart ache, remember, and ultimately, feel more deeply. As she whispered softly to herself, "I hope he knows how much he is missed," and settled back into the quiet evening, the house no longer empty, but alive with emotion, memory, and the subtle promise that even ordinary days could hold extraordinary encounters, leaving her with a story that would remain in her mind long after the rain stopped and the night passed into morning the next day. The memory of the unexpected visit lingered in her mind like a quiet echo she couldn't shake. The way he had looked at her, the softness in his voice, the careful attention he had given to her words, and she found herself wondering if she had imagined more than had actually happened, or if there was truly a connection in the brief moments they had shared, a subtle recognition of emotions that neither of them could name but both had felt. And as the morning sun streamed weakly through the curtains, she tried to focus on household chores, cleaning, and small tasks, but her thoughts kept drifting to the way he had paused to listen to her, the way his eyes had held hers just a little longer than necessary, and the quiet warmth that had settled over her heart, stirring feelings of curiosity, admiration, and an unexpected longing, a longing not for him, but for understanding, for someone to notice the invisible threads of her emotions that usually remained hidden behind smiles and daily routines. She went about her day with a light tension, noticing every small sound, every subtle movement in the house, as if waiting for a knock on the door or a familiar voice, and when she remembered husband's absence, a pang of yearning tightened in her chest, reminding her how deeply she missed him, how much she valued the comfort of his presence. Yet the visit of his boss had awakened in her a new awareness, a gentle but undeniable sense that human hearts were capable of responding to empathy, attention, and emotional warmth even from someone unexpected. Later that afternoon, she found herself at the window again, looking at the rain-soaked garden, the droplets glistening in the pale sunlight, and imagining husband walking through the door, telling her about his day, and yet the memory of the previous evening returned vividly. The way the boss had spoken of challenges, the way he had acknowledged her feelings without judgment, and the way their conversation had shifted from professional matters into a quiet space where emotions could be expressed, where longing, empathy, and understanding were allowed to breathe freely, leaving her feeling both comforted and unsettled at the same time. She wondered what he was thinking, whether he had noticed her quiet attentiveness, whether he had sensed the subtle loneliness she had tried to hide, and in that wondering, she felt an unfamiliar but gentle stir of awareness, the kind that made her heart race without fear, the kind that made her recognize the beauty of shared human connection, a reminder that even temporary interactions could leave lasting impressions on the soul. Hours passed, and she busied herself with small household tasks, arranging flowers, tidying the living room, and preparing a simple dinner, yet her mind kept circling back to the moments from the night before, each memory sharpening as if the details had been etched into her heart. From the slight tilt of his head when he listened, to the calm steadiness of his gestures, to the rare, almost imperceptible vulnerability he had allowed to show through his professional composure, and she realized that this encounter, brief as it had been, had shifted something inside her. A sense of awareness, of openness, of emotional receptivity that she hadn't felt in years, even with husband present, because human hearts sometimes respond differently in moments of absence and unexpected closeness. As evening approached, she heard the knock at the door again, and her heart skipped, a sudden jolt of anticipation mixed with uncertainty, and when she opened the door, it was not him, but a neighbor bringing a small package, a friendly visit that only heightened her awareness of the emotional gap left by husband's absence, reminding her that human interactions carried weight, and that subtle gestures, thoughtful words, or even shared silence could imprint themselves on the heart, leaving questions that were not meant to be answered immediately but allowed to linger, slowly shaping the way one viewed love, connection, and desire for understanding. She sat down with a cup of tea, the warmth in her hands a small comfort, and remembered again the moment he had mentioned husband's hard work, the quiet admiration in his voice, and how he had gently steered the conversation toward her own experiences, allowing her to speak without interruption, to express the soft ache of missing someone she loved, the nuanced frustration of loneliness, and the small victories of handling life alone for a few days. And in that memory, she felt a surge of gratitude, a recognition that even strangers could offer solace through empathy, a kindness that wasn't invasive but profoundly human. Night fell and the house grew quiet, the rain outside now a gentle drizzle that reflected the muted glow of streetlights, and she found herself walking through the rooms, imagining conversations, revisiting the moments of laughter, the small smiles exchanged, the brief pauses that had carried more meaning than any words could convey, and she realized that life had a way of offering lessons through unexpected encounters, teaching patience, reflection, and awareness of emotions that otherwise might remain dormant, unspoken, or overlooked. The phone buzzed briefly, a message from husband wishing her a good night, and her chest tightened with both relief and longing, the words connecting her to him even across distance. Yet the memory of the previous evening remained vivid, reminding her that human connection could exist in layers, sometimes simultaneous, and that feelings of admiration, understanding, or gentle curiosity did not diminish love but instead could deepen the appreciation of it, showing her the subtle spectrum of emotion that life offered if one paid attention. She prepared for bed, the soft glow of the bedside lamp casting shadows that danced across the room, and as she lay down, her mind replayed moments in slow motion, the way he had listened, the way he had respected her space, the way a simple visit had felt like an emotional revelation, a glimpse into the tender complexity of human hearts and the subtle beauty that came from noticing another's feelings, validating them, and responding with care. Sleep came fitfully, dreams colored with fragments of conversation, half-remembered gestures, and the unspoken questions that hovered in the air between hearts, questions of longing, of curiosity, of recognition, of fleeting connections that sometimes arrive unbidden and leave impressions that shape the way one perceives love, absence, and human vulnerability. And when morning arrived, the sunlight spilling across the floor seemed to illuminate not just the room, but the small awareness she carried of the unexpected beauty in human connection, the silent acknowledgement that hearts could resonate with empathy and kindness, even in the absence of those we loved most, and that life's gentle surprises could teach us to value both love and understanding in equal measure. She moved through the day with a new perspective, noticing small gestures, subtle expressions, moments of quiet significance that she had overlooked before, and every sound, every movement, every glance seemed to carry meaning, reminding her that the world was full of delicate emotions waiting to be acknowledged, that love could exist in multiple forms, and that sometimes the heart's capacity for connection extended beyond the boundaries of expectation, offering insights, comfort, and warmth. Even when life seemed ordinary, evening came again with its shadows and muted colors, and she found herself standing by the window, looking at the garden that shimmered with raindrops, feeling the lingering awareness of his presence, a quiet, gentle imprint on her consciousness, a reminder that even brief interactions could stir emotions that lingered, shaped understanding, and enhanced the depth of existing love, making the heart more open, more sensitive, and more capable of appreciating the tender nuances of connection, empathy, and human care. And in that quiet reflection, she realized that life's unexpected moments often carry the most profound lessons, leaving one both moved and enriched, prepared for whatever would come next, whether it was the return of husband or another subtle, meaningful encounter that would illuminate the beauty of emotional intimacy in all its forms. And with that realization, she settled into the night, her heart full of longing, reflection, and gentle anticipation, aware that the story of the day was only part of a larger journey. The days passed, each one carrying the quiet rhythm of life with husband still away. Yet the memory of the boss's visit remained like a gentle echo in her mind, a reminder of unexpected moments that stirred feelings she hadn't anticipated. And as she moved through her routines, preparing meals, watering plants, checking emails, she noticed how ordinary tasks now seemed infused with small awarenesses, little flashes of reflection about human connection, empathy, and the beauty of shared understanding. And though she missed husband with every beat of her heart, she also recognized the subtle impact of someone noticing her, listening, acknowledging the emotions she carried silently. And she realized that even brief encounters could leave lasting impressions that shaped her thoughts and feelings in ways she didn't expect. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon and painted the sky in hues of gold and pink, a message arrived from husband, a simple note wishing her a good evening, and though it was brief, it brought warmth to her chest, a reminder of the love they shared, the bond that distance could not break. And yet, the memory of the other visit lingered, not as temptation or distraction, but as a quiet acknowledgement of the complexity of hearts, the tender spaces that existed within her own, capable of noticing kindness, connection, and subtle understanding even outside her marriage. And she felt a strange gratitude for the way life reminded her that love was multifaceted, that longing could coexist with appreciation for fleeting connections, and that human emotion was delicate, layered, and endlessly fascinating. She walked through the house, her steps soft on the wooden floor, pausing by the window to watch the city lights flicker as night settled in, and she imagined husband returning home, his presence filling the spaces that had been quiet for too long. Yet she also carried the awareness of the boss's visit, the way he had listened, the warmth in his eyes, and the empathy he had offered, and she realized that these impressions, fleeting as they were, had made her heart more alive, more attuned to subtle emotions, and more appreciative of the love she shared with her husband, deepening her understanding of intimacy, connection, and the importance of being seen even in small, quiet ways. The following morning, she awoke with a renewed sense of energy, the memory of yesterday blending with hope for the day ahead, and as she moved through breakfast, tending to small chores with careful attention, she reflected on the lesson she had unconsciously absorbed, that life often brought unexpected encounters not to disrupt love, but to illuminate it, to make her notice her own feelings, and to remind her how much she valued the steady, enduring presence of husband, the way he held her heart, protected it, and gave it a rhythm of comfort and stability that allowed other fleeting moments to exist without threat or guilt. That afternoon, a call came from husband's office, not from him, but from someone passing a message, a reminder that he would be home sooner than expected, and a flutter of anticipation rose within her, a mix of joy, relief, and eagerness to see him, to feel the warmth of his presence again. And as she prepared the house for his return, small touches like arranging flowers, straightening pillows, lighting a subtle candle, she felt the house come alive, infused with the emotions she had been holding in, ready to welcome him with the love and attention that had always defined their relationship, yet carrying the gentle awareness that life's unexpected encounters could deepen her empathy, her sensitivity, and her appreciation for the human heart. When husband finally walked through the door, carrying the tired but satisfied energy of someone who had traveled far and worked hard, she ran to him, embracing him fully, feeling the familiar warmth, the safety, and the completeness that his presence brought. And as they settled into the living room, talking softly about his trip, she noticed how ordinary words felt extraordinary after the days of absence, how laughter, simple smiles, and shared silence carried more meaning, and how the previous visit, while brief and unexpected, had not shaken her love for him, but instead enriched it, teaching her to notice and cherish even the smallest gestures, the quiet understanding that built the foundation of their life together. Over the evening they shared stories, moments of tenderness and laughter that echoed through the rooms, and she realized that love was not merely about constant presence, but about the depth of attention, the recognition of each other's emotions, and the resilience of hearts that could endure absence and return to warmth, strengthened by the reminders of what truly mattered. And as husband held her hand, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, not just for him, but for life's ability to offer insights through small, subtle experiences that reminded her how precious human connection was, how delicate and beautiful understanding could be, and how even brief encounters with others could illuminate the depth of her feelings and commitment. Night fell, quiet and gentle, the glow of lamps casting soft shadows, and she found herself reflecting on the days past, on the rain, on the unexpected visitor, on the ache of absence, and the fullness of reunion, and in her heart, she recognized a newfound clarity. That love could withstand distance, that longing could make joy sweeter, that human connection was complex and layered, and that every encounter, whether fleeting or enduring, left impressions that shaped her heart, her perspective, and her appreciation for life, making ordinary days extraordinary through awareness, empathy, and tenderness. She looked across at husband, asleep on the couch for a brief nap, and felt the gentle rhythm of her own heart, synchronized with his, aware that life's surprises, the rain, the visits, the small moments of understanding, had all contributed to this profound realization of love's depth, and that her feelings for him were not diminished by noticing the humanity in others, but enhanced by it, deepened by the recognition that hearts were resilient, capable of understanding, and endlessly capable of warmth. The next morning brought sunlight spilling across the room, the sounds of the city waking up, and a sense of calm fulfillment that she had not known in days, and as she prepared breakfast, she thought about how the brief visit had shown her subtle truths about connection, attention, and empathy, and how she could carry these lessons forward into her life, her relationship, and her understanding of human hearts, and she realized that love was not static but evolving, shaped by absence, presence, understanding, and the delicate awareness of others, and that each day offered a chance to notice, appreciate, and nurture the bonds that mattered most. By the time husband fully settled back into the house, their evening conversation deepened into plans for the future, reflections on their shared experiences, and quiet moments of intimacy that required no words, only presence, attention, and shared smiles, and she recognized that the house, once heavy with absence and longing, now felt alive with love, understanding, and renewed appreciation for the life they shared, strengthened by the gentle reminder that even unexpected events could serve as catalysts for gratitude, reflection, and emotional growth, leaving her with a heart full, eyes bright, and spirit ready to embrace every moment with him. As the night stretched on, she lingered in reflection, recalling the rain-soaked days, the soft voice of the visitor, and the tender absence of husband, and she understood fully that life's emotional layers were what made love meaningful, and that human hearts were capable of holding multiple feelings at once: longing, appreciation, gratitude, connection, and joy, and that her own heart had grown stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the subtleties of emotion, ready to face each day with awareness, tenderness, and the deep, enduring love she felt for husband. A love enriched by the understanding that every encounter, every pause, every glance, and every word carried weight in shaping the story of life and love, leaving her with a quiet, lasting sense of fulfillment, readiness, and joy as she drifted into sleep beside him, their hearts intertwined, full of the promise of tomorrow, and the knowledge that love, tested by absence and illuminated by gentle human connection, was stronger, richer, and more beautiful than ever before. Journey that intertwined love, connection, and the unexpected ways human hearts could reach one another.